1914 vintage Blakely, built in Muskegon, Michigan. They also were known as the Grey Gearless because of the fact that there is no bevel gear set in there to provide power transmission to the propeller. Instead, it's done through use of a series of universal joints that are connected to make a flexible shaft. And so as a consequence, there's fewer moving parts to wear out, but then there's more moving parts to wear out when you think about it. It's about a 2 horsepower. It's a bigger bore and stroke than most other rowboat motors. It's a 3-inch bore, and most other rowboat motors of its time were about 2 5/8 bore. It doesn't really give you any more power or speed, but it's a larger cubic inch motor than most other rowboat motors of the time. Battery ignition, hot exhaust. It's not cooled by water going through it. It's an interesting piece to own and to run. Surprisingly, once I got the bugs out of it, it's a pretty easy starter if things are all set up correctly. Compression and fit the crankshaft to the bearings and so on and so forth. Needs some gas tank work. This is a replacement tank that was made by somebody. It's made out of galvanized sheet metal. It's soldered well enough to hold it together, and that's about it. So we're just really proving the motor out, and then the gas tank will be the last piece to refinish once we prove it once and for all that it's 100% reliable and ready to go at any time. Okay. To operate it, it's fairly simple. The fuel petcock is here. Turning it back so it's in line with the pipe, that opens the valve. This knurled knob here gets opened about a turn and a quarter. It likes it rich. Make sure the poppet valve is working. You can hear it snorting there. After a few drops of fuel come out, release the valve. Bounce against compression 3 or 4 times to prime it, and then when you bang it against compression, it'll take right off. So Wayne's gonna demonstrate it for us very shortly. This is the water pump setup that I've created in order to provide enough cooling capacity. The first time I ran the motor, this section down here is all that is that's where the water pump piston was, and the piston is there. There's no check valve, but yet there is an elbow on this port that fed the water up to the power head. I never could really figure out how it worked. It didn't work very well, and the motor was on the verge of overheating all the time. So I decided I would revert to the original patent drawings that Edward Blakely created. Showed a water pump much like this. So I adapted a rowboat motor pump from a Kale and put it on there, and so I made a longer original piston just to act as a pusher piston on the water pump plunger, and then with the use of the check valves, it's much more efficient at providing cooling water. And the last time I ran it, I had no overheating problems whatsoever.